fiction, science fiction, horror, fantasy, crime, LGBT, thriller.
You have now entered the House of Mystery with your hosts, Eric Shapiro, David North Martino, John Copenhaver, and Al Warren.
Heard on KCAA 106.5 FM Los Angeles,
102.3 FM Riverside,
and 105.0 AM Palm Springs.
Welcome back into the House of Mystery. We're at the interview part of the show, and today we have a returning guest, very special, Mr. Sudi Karatas. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me again. I guess I didn't screw up the first time, so you're having me back.
You're a pleasure to have more over and over again.
I've heard that many times. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I thought so. So now this book, your new book's called How Catering Sucked the Life Right Out of Me. I kind of like the idea of sucked, but where did this come from? Like, what? This is different than kind of everything you've done before. As far as I know, it's in books anyway. So
It is, yeah. And I had the one book, Rainbow Relatives, and I usually write scripts and songs and other things. So this is my second book, but I've done catering for many years in New York and California, because most artists or actors, musicians, as a side thing, is actually the perfect thing to do. It's, as much as I joke about it sucking in a lot of ways, the flexibility, that's the F word. Flexibility is the most. Because sometimes you want to use the other F word in catering. But that really is one of the perks of it. So I do joke a lot, as bad as some of the events might be. Some are very good. And also, if you're an actor, you can just, take off for an audition. You can take off a month to shoot a movie and then go back to catering. You can't do that with a 9-to-5 job. So anyway, I just joked a lot when I was catering sometimes about, I'm going to write a book about this, or, this is going to go in the book, or there's just so many wacky events and things that go on behind the scenes, and I love to write. So I kind of just started writing it half as a joke, half as therapy, getting stuff off my chest, which, some annoying things that happen and the guests do at events and things like that. And then it just, it really was kind of fun and a lot of work, but it turned out to be, it just came out like a week and a half ago, but people are already saying that it's very funny and they're enjoying it. And
well,
so.
it's a good thing, because before I was a rock star, no, I did a lot of waitering and working in department stores and things like that, and I understand. It's hard customer service, isn't it? And you get all sorts of people, and I see it looks here like you've done, with caterings, you're going to do weddings too, right? And that's got to be the most intense of all.
Yes, we did a lot of weddings, bar mitzvahs, birthday parties. But like weddings, it's funny. There was one wedding that never was, but we worked it anyway. The groom, it wasn't a runaway bride, it was a runaway groom. He called it off that morning, and so the bride, everything was paid for. So she said, the caterer said, "What do you want to do?" She said, "Let's go ahead and have a party." And it was better to know that he's, a jerk now than later and waste more time. So it was a great party. She even sang a few songs. She was really good. And that caterer who I mentioned in the book, Chef Rossi, Raging Skillet, they did and I talk about them in the book a little bit too, but they were fun to work for. But that was just in my mind. I remember how courageous she was and just strong, and she just went ahead with she looked at the positive and I think the caterer found it like a year later, she found the right one and got married and everything. So that was kind of a happy ending to that story. But yeah, I've worked a lot of different weddings. One wedding, it's funny, it never rains in California, and we worked in August especially, and we worked a party in Santa Barbara. And no tent, nothing. It was set up in this big area outside, and nothing was around, no buildings really for like a 10-minute walk or something. And so they set it up, and it just never rains in August in Santa Barbara, California. But sure enough, the skies got darker and darker and was setting up the tables, and just as the guests are coming and the napkins are all out and folded nicely and it starts raining. Kind of a light rain, but steady, and it was a warm rain. So anyway, it just went on and people had a good time and there was nothing to do. There was nowhere to go. There was no backup plan, no plan B. So those two weddings, I think, stand out in my mind, the most.
I mean, I just wondered, do you ever have any Bridezillas, a lot of stress?
I haven't had to deal with too many. I know one of this woman, Joanna Fran, that I catered with, she was kind of in charge of one wedding and helping I think the caterer and I don't know if the bride wasn't a problem. I think it was it was the caterer actually was annoyed because the bride didn't like her and liked Joanna better or something. There's all this issue with that. So I know there are a lot of, obviously, brides are very nervous on that day and they planned a lot. So there'll always be some stuff. But I haven't experienced, fortunately. I'm sure if you ask party planners and caterers, they probably have plenty, that run the catering companies, they probably have a lot of stories about those.
Yeah, it's quite intense. Bar mitzvah, where OJ Simpson was a guest. Did they let him cut the cake?
Well, it's funny. That was about a year before that whole Bronco thing.
Oh.
And it was in New York, and I had his table, and he was very nice, and people were getting their picture taken with him, and then a year later, I'm watching on the news he's and accused of murder and all that. So that was kind of interesting. But it's so weird how someone who just seems so pleasant and nice, and people coming up to him, getting their picture taken, and then he snapped or whatever.
Yeah. Well, maybe you caused it.
Yeah, I did.
Could have been bad clams or something.
Yeah, don't give that man a knife. Boy, he's all over Twitter nowadays. So I don't know.
Is he? Oh,
yeah,
okay.
It's pretty weird. He's pretty weird.
Yeah,
he's out there, and I don't know. It's kind of crazy, that whole thing.
Yeah,
well,
that's one of the fun. Oh, sorry. The fun things though about working the catering jobs, a lot of times you do see celebrities, and most of them are very nice and fun. And I have a few stories actually in the book about. Actually, I can say Daryl Hannah called me a god. And yeah, that's taken a little bit out of context, but she asked me to, we were passing around some kind of dessert. She said, "Oh, do you have any more of that dessert?" Whatever it was. I said, "Oh, I'll go check." And I went back to the kitchen and I came out and I gave it to her. She says, "Oh my God, thank you so much. You are a god." So I can say, Daryl Hannah called me a god.
Boy, I'll tell you, little things in life. What do you think your biggest challenge was when you're catering? Is it the customers? Is it just serving people, or what's hardest for you?
Well, I think a lot of the events are some of them are not hard and they're kind of fun and all that. The thing that makes it hard are the ones that were the ones that I really thought that the reason the book was called How Catering Sucked the Life Right Out of Me was there are some caterers or some bosses, which a lot of people can relate to this no matter what company they work for, especially if it's a big company and they, it's all about just the bottom line and they don't treat their employees well or they try to, pay them as little as possible. So some of the caterers and I don't mention by name in the book, for obvious reasons, but it's the way they would treat their staff. They're in hospitality and they would treat their staff like garbage and, they didn't give a raise in like 14 years and they, we're writing people up for stupid little things. It's like you're in high school getting called into the dean's office. And so I say there's some people on, some of the captains, let's say, or the people that run the companies are on a power trip or, there's too many chiefs on too much opium. And, so that was the hardest thing because most of the guests are fine. Oh, and most of the houses, we worked in a lot of interesting houses. I actually worked in Quincy Jones' house and then other celebrities, but just people that no one's heard of. But most of them, I would say 95%, are really lovely people. I have some I mentioned in the book, Owen and Tara Pardo and Demetra George, and these are some people I've worked in their homes who are lovely people and you don't mind working for. Then there's one or two that are just absolute nightmares, and I talk about two specifically in the book, and I don't mention names. But one I call Mrs. Olson, and she's no relation to the Mrs. Olson on Little House on the Prairie. That one was much nicer than this woman. And I mean, everyone that's worked in her house, just was, and some people, I went back 5 or 6 times because the money was decent and you figured, okay, I'll get used to certain things. She'll be happy because she has someone that knows what they're doing, blah, blah, blah. No, she was just not happy with anything. And everything was just, it was just and I finally wrote a letter to the person who hired us to work at that place. I will no longer work at that place. She was just, the husband was very nice. The guests were fine. So most of the events, it's really just, and depending on the type of service, you asked me what makes them harder, I guess. What did you say? Like what's your
biggest challenge? Like what when you're doing this, like when you're getting a job, a catering job, and you're going to go to this place or that place, is there certain ones that you just go, oh no, I can't, I don't want to do that?
Well, like one woman, yes, that I just talked about, but also there's certain places, there are certain places that, like we used to work at the Rose Bowl out here, and just getting there, the parking, it took forever to park. They made you park like 3 fields away. If you got done as the concert was ending or the football game, you would be stuck there for another hour in your car trying to get out. You're not getting paid for that hour. We worked there like 10 hours, and they would feed us. As soon as we got there, they give us sandwiches and a half-hour break, like 5 minutes after we were there, and then we worked nonstop for 9 hours. So that was one of those places. I think a lot of people finally said, nope, we're not going back there. But we got to see a few concerts, a little bit of there, which was kind of cool. So that was one of the places. I'm sure there's a few others. Again, most of them are fine. And, I've worked both in New York and L.A. in a lot of cool places. We did Natural Museum of History, and that was kind of interesting to be serving beef, and there was a big stuffed bison in a window in the room.
Well, that's got to be kind of crazy. You're gonna see a lot of people that have an extreme amount of wealth, and to watch that around you and the things that they do, right? Because they have so much.
Yes, actually, there was one event. Now that you remind me of, it was a $5 million wedding for 3-year-old twins. Yeah, so $2.5 million for each twin, and it was on a 2-day event. And I only worked the first day, and it was the Willy Wonka theme. And I swear to God, they bought a house just to have a party and then tore the house down. But they had the house. They made a chocolate river go through it, and they hired little people as the Oompa Loompas. They had $50,000 jars of caviar on each table, hundreds of thousands of dollars in flowers. Now, this is for 3-year-old twins. They could have funded 5 of my movie scripts for this amount of money. That was insane. That was just insane.
Well, that's what I mean. That's extreme to spend that much money, and they won't even remember it.
Right. Exactly.
That's crazy.
Of course, yeah. And of course, that one really sticks out in my mind because it was so bizarre. And had I worked the next day, they set it up a whole different theme, Snow White apparently. And again, and they, at least the little people got 2 days of work out of it because I think they used them for the Oompa Loompas and the dwarfs for this Snow White theme. But yeah, I just got the 1 day. I do know people that worked the second day, and I mean that's an extreme example of some of the, I've worked some weddings that were over $1 million and things like that, but that one took the cake. There's a lot of catering puns in the book, by the way.
There's nothing like a McDonald's birthday party.
Oh, that's funny you say that. See, almost everything you say I can probably relate to a story. We did these for the American Heart Association charity events, and every year we would do it, and I think the food we served was healthy to the guests, but the caterer ordered McDonald's for us. For a Heart Association event, they're ordering us, the worst food for your health. Like that, again, that's another example how some of these caterers just don't care about their employees.
Yeah, it's about the budget, right? The dollars, probably, And what's this? You said you did an unfortunate gig on 9/11?
Oh, well, it was an interesting. It was in New York. Lived in New York at the time. I grew up in New York, and I grew up in Long Island, and I was living in New York. And it was an event for Hugo Boss, and in the city, and it was their fashion week or something. And so I'm setting up the coffee and stuff, the breakfast, whatever, and I hear kind of a commotion going on in the other room. There's no windows in the room that I was in. And after a while, I'm like, what the heck is going on in there? It's not my business. I figured it rained the night before, so something got wet, so it's a big fashion emergency, So anyway, finally I went in to see what was going on, and I said, what happened? They go, oh, well, a plane went into the Twin Towers, and from their window, it was on 11th Street and 8th Avenue and the 13th floor or 14th floor. So you could see the towers, and you could see a little smoke coming out of the one. And I thought they meant, just a little tiny plane went in, and I said, okay, and I had to get back to work. I didn't want to stay in there too long. I'm there to do my job. So I go back in the other room, and I'm doing the stuff with the bagels and the coffee, whatever. Oh, coffee. There's my New York accent there. And so a few minutes later, I just hear, and people kept running in. That's what made me go in there initially, because people were running into that room. And so then half hour later or so, I hear like a huge gasp and screams coming from the room. And I went back in, and the second plane had, gone in to the towers. And one of the women there said, there must be a problem with the traffic controllers or something. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. What? They're saying you're clear, but the pilot, doesn't realize there's a big building in front of them. So anyway, they asked me, all this stuff is going on. Could I stay, till 1? So, there's some people stuck there. Can they? I said, sure, that's fine. And said, call whoever you have to call. And then the one woman said, could you call the caterer and ask them if when they bring the lunches, could they bring some more sandwiches, because some people are now stuck here. And I'm like, I know that there's sirens going off, streets are closing. There's no way the caterer's even going to be able to come now. But she insisted I call the caterer and ask him. So I called the caterer, who was on Water Street, which is right near where all this is going on. And as I'm calling him, there are people walking into this is after one of the towers had come down, and people were escaping in blood and ashes. And some of them are walking into his catering place as I'm calling him, asking, they want to know if you can bring a few extra sandwiches for the lunch. And so the guy says, tell her to go F herself. Now, I didn't know at the time that people were walking in with ashes and all that. And I knew he wouldn't be able to, and she had made me ask. But so amongst all this destruction and sadness, and it's just my whole way home, I had to walk like 16 blocks to get home by the time I got out of there, because the buses weren't running. But I found myself chuckling to myself, because I could just hear in my head, tell her to go F herself. He said the word. I'm bleeping it out. But so that was my 9/11 kind of story.
That's really strange, because I did an interview with someone, and they told us that the planes never crashed into the buildings. That it was fake. So I guess he's not right. But so that woman must have been in her own world.
Oh, I know. That's some people are just clueless. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. And I honestly don't even remember what she looked like or what she sounded like. I just remember that whole, exchange.
Yeah.
Now, you spent some time in Tom Cruise's house, too, right?
Well, catering. Well, one event. And we hang out all the time, No, actually, one event, it was, I don't know what the actual, party was for. It might have even been a birthday party for their daughter or something. But I was only in this one room, the dessert room. And it was funny because there was, Ellen was over there and Jamie Foxx and Oprah. Everyone except myself was like a celebrity in this room. And all I had to do was stand by the dessert station, which obviously none of them came over to, because God forbid they gain an ounce. And so I'm observing, and what was funny, this was a couple months after Tom Cruise was on Oprah, and he jumped on her couch. I don't know if you remember that. That was quite a long time ago. But he jumped on her couch all excited. So here she is, Oprah, in his living room, and there's a couch there. And I wanted to go over to her and say, look, I know he jumped on your couch, but please don't jump on his couch. But I didn't. I thought that would be risky business. See what I did there? But and I don't know. She might have found it funny. She might have said, "Could you please tell this person to leave the event?" I don't know. Oprah seems nice. I think she would have found it cute. I don't know. But sometimes I think I'm funny and other people don't, so I know to kind of sometimes not say anything. So, but that was it. I really only stayed in that one room. I don't think I even saw Tom Cruise during that event. And I think I was there 4 or 5 hours. That was it. That was my shift or whatever. So but that is kind of fun, working in different celebrities' houses or meeting different celebrities. I worked one event in the book where Olivia Newton-John was warming up to perform somewhere at this event in the ballroom, and she's one of my favorites. So that was really cool.
Wow. Well, but you didn't get in Tom Cruise's his bedroom or anything?
No.
Oh.
I don't think I was in, like I said, just that one dessert room or whatever it was. So.
I don't think he has a bedroom. I think he's got like that pod like Darth Vader had in The Empire Strikes
I had
Back.
10 bedrooms. That was a huge place, I think. I don't know.
He's in a coffin. Yeah, I guess. Hangs upside down in his closet. Oh, it's terrible. Well, so it's now that's kind of interesting. But so, did you ever get to meet someone that was famous? Did you ever become friends with someone you worked for or worked in doing?
Not. It's funny. There's some Facebook there's people like Tom Arnold was in my movie Walk a Mile in My Pradas. And then what's funny is like 6 months after we shot that movie, I was passing hors d'oeuvres at an event that he was a guest at. So in some ways I was a little embarrassed to go up, oh, would you like some whatever it was, filet mignon, crostini. And then I kind of joked I said, here, until the movie starts making money, here I am. And he was really cool. He says, no, I understand, and there was nothing to be ashamed of, but you know how you feel, kind of like, okay, I just made a movie and Tom Arnold was in. So, and he's on my Facebook, but I wouldn't say we're friends, but, I'm trying to think there's, if through catering I've met, I don't know if I've met through catering. There's some other people, like in my last book, had met Shelley Wright a few times through a mutual friend, and so she's in my book, Rainbow Relatives. I did an interview with her for that book. I've worked in people's homes, that, you don't really become friends with, but they, but they're very nice. Like Monica from Everybody Loves Raymond was one of the nicest people I ever. She played Amy on. I think it's Horan, her last name. She plays Amy on Everybody Loves Raymond, and she was probably the nicest person that I worked in someone's house that was on, a celebrity or whatever. And then I guess if you work many times at the same house for a certain, fun story. We worked at Suzanne Summers' house in Palm Springs for a book signing she had. This is, I don't know, maybe 12, 14 years ago. And so it was funny. We walked in, and she was very, very friendly. She thought we were part of the band at first. And then she found out we were the caterer, which she was still friendly. But she was singing with the band, so that's why she was at first really excited or something. And she sang very well at the event. And but yeah, I don't really think I've become I have remained friends with those several people that I worked in their houses for quite a few times that I still keep in touch with, or they're on my Facebook.
Well, you're a big movie maker now.
Well, I made the one movie, and then I'm trying to shoot another family inspirational film in Nashville, and we have a few people attached to that one. But that's, yeah. So
how is that? How do you find trying to work your way into the movie business now, and how is it for independent filmmakers?
Well, it's hard. I mean, the hardest thing is getting financing and funding for the films. And, to get the financing and funding, a lot of times you need a name attached to it. But to get the name attached, you have to have the funding in place. So I call it a catch-44 because it's doubly worse than a catch-22. But we got for the first film, Dee Wallace, who's great. She's great to work with. And like I said, Tom Arnold and Mike Starr, Nathaniel Marston, who passed away a few years ago. But a lot of those people we reached out to directly if we could. I mean, you usually have to go through agents and managers, and that's also impossible until everything is in place, especially if you're independent. But sometimes, you can get through and at least get a letter of intent or see if they're interested once you get the funding. So that, to me, is the hardest thing about making the film. And
then how is the like once you're putting the film together, like when you were doing Prada, who's going to release it? Like when you go to these streaming networks or places like Amazon, does it pay that well, really?
Well, like our last movie got on Netflix, the Prada movie, and that was through a distributor at Gravitas, I think. But I don't think they pay a ton, actually, to be honest with you. And yeah, so there's a lot of streaming network, and the movie's now on Amazon Prime. What Come On My Pradas is on Amazon Prime for free if people have a Prime account. But yeah, it's that the distribution is also hard. I guess, yeah, those are the two hard things: getting the money, getting distribution, and getting an honest distributor, which probably only 10% of them are. So that's a whole nother issue.
Why? What do you mean? What do they do?
Well, they're creative accounting. This is even with big films. You have trouble making your money back, and a lot of them are just outright thieves. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So it's really tough to make any sort of a living in that business.
Yes. So that's why catering is at least the jobs are there, and it's it is. And even but I love doing it. It was one of the best things I ever did. I said the hardest thing I ever did, but the most rewarding thing I ever did was that movie. And then even the book Rainbow Relatives that I did was a lot of work, and everything I do takes 5 or 6 years from start to finish, I feel like. But I like the outcome is okay, and that's part of the hopefully the next several projects won't take as long, but
yeah. So this project here, the catering book, what was what were you hoping for? Like, what were you looking for when you were doing it? Actually decided to write it and publish it out. Was there kind of something you were hoping would come from this, or was there something you wanted people to get from this?
Well, I like making people laugh, and I feel like now more than ever, people need to laugh. There's just so much stuff going on, and it's a good way to escape reality. So it's not like a book that's going to save lives, or in some ways it's helpful because it actually does tell. One of the things is to let guests know what they can do at an event or not do at an event. There's a whole bunch of stuff in the book about what guests do that annoy not just annoy the caterers or the servers, but really make it difficult for them to do their jobs. So in some ways, people can learn how to, the do's and don'ts of when they go to it and they're a guest at a party or an event. So that is one thing. So I want people to enjoy it and laugh and be entertained, and then also learn a little bit of some of the etiquette and stuff of being at events and maybe have more of an appreciation of the people that are serving them at different events. So that's a big thing. I don't think a lot of people realize that. They kind of very dismissive. Even people like serving hors d'oeuvres, and you go up to a guest and they're just ignoring the server. They don't even say, "Oh no, thank you." They're just, you're not there, And there's a few celebrities that do that, and there's just few just guests that do that. Again, I would say the bigger percentage are very nice and very friendly. But so I think those are the two main things. Part of it was just therapeutic, getting it out. So I don't know if I planned on releasing it at first. I was just kind of doing it for fun, but it came out. It came out good, and so it's I kind of go with whatever comes to me, and if it goes, I go with it, and sometimes I don't know where it's going to go, and
Well, you can maybe make this into a movie.
Oh, a TV series I could see it as. Yeah, that would be fun. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they did a show called Party Down a few years back. I talk about that in the book a little bit because it was so unrealistic, some of the stuff that went on. I mean, it's funny. Like, they would have the waiter like just eating something on the floor, and I'm like, no, you would never do that. You would do it discreetly. You duck behind the buffet. You pretend you're getting something, wolf it down, and then stand back up with the red herring of the plates or forks that you were putting on the buffet. There's a way to do it. And there was no chefs in the kitchen on that show. Like, the waiters were like getting the food and bringing it up, but there was nobody cooking it or heating it, so that was unrealistic. But that was a funny show, and I love what's her name on it. What's her name? She's in Jane Lynch. Thank you. You were no help. You didn't tell me I had to think of it on my own, but thank you.
I was waiting. We were testing you.
So other than ignoring you, what are some of the worst things that guests can do, or people who are putting the event on?
A couple of things. They, sometimes they put garbage on the tray that you're passing food on. They put their napkin or a toothpick and not realize that it's food you're passing. Double dipping. Everyone knows about that because of Seinfeld, but everyone I talked to, that was the number one pet peeve that does catering. They'll ask the same person for the same thing and not wait long enough for the first person to bring it. So they now have 3 fresh drinks in front of them because they couldn't, so that's another thing. What else?
That's called alcoholism.
They don't know the word no. Actually, when you do catering, you're told never to say no. No is never an answer.
Right.
Even when the answer is no. And, but some people, like if a bar has been open for 3 hours and you haven't come up to it, and now you're coming up when it's closed, it's closed. And it was funny. One woman, she just was like, no, I want a drink. And why can't I have a drink? Blah, blah. And she literally, there was 5 of us blocking the bar so that people knew it was closed. and they were breaking it down. Well, she reached beyond my hand, my arm, and she grabbed, I guess it was a poured glass of wine that someone had left, or it was maybe a couple were poured and not taken. And anyway, she took it, and I immediately just grabbed it out of her hand and put it back. But don't disrespect me when I'm doing my job, you know. So, yeah, what are some other things they do? And again, mostly the guests are fine, but there's the little things that I joke, like they, you know, people ask if it's a decaf, and it's like, you know, we know usually know it's decaf or not. But, and then there's tea is a pain that, even though I like tea myself, I don't even drink coffee. It is harder to serve tea at an event. So if you know, if you want it, order it. But you know, coffee's a pain in the neck enough. But tea is you know. So what else do people do? Let me think. I probably could look in the book, but you know, I should say you have to read the book to find out, I guess. There's like 3 or 4 pages of things guests do, and I could probably have gone on for four chapters on that.
I guess catering's pretty much done with the current conditions of COVID, right? Or is it still going on?
It's very dead. In March it kind of stopped. Now there's a few events going on, and with the masks, very small events. But yeah, coronavirus, and I bring that up obviously because, coronavirus killed catering. I think I called that section, but it's there's.
So you're catering more funerals then?
Oh, I've done you know what's funny? Not funny. Well, I did a few, what do you call those? Like shivas or, memorial. I forgot about that. I don't even think I talk about that in the book. But yeah, we've done those too so it's kind of weird because people are there for a funeral so you know, when you do an event, you obviously usually want the guests to have a great time. And this is kind of one where, you know, all right, that's not quite the goal at this event, but they still, you know how funerals are, that, you know, even though it's a sad event, people find the humor and find, you know, good memories that make it a nice event. But I forgot about that. You've done some of those too.
So you've been talking to Alexa lately? You've been doing any of those?
You've seen those. I haven't. Funny, I'll think of weird things to ask her, and for some reason I started doing it, without my shirt on. And then people expected it without the shirt on, so I would do every once in a while just off the cuff. I would just think of something to ask her, and sometimes and then if she gave a funny answer, I said, "Oh, I got to record that," and then I would ask again, and then she gave a different answer, the stupid biatch. But anyway, those are fun. I ask all kinds of weird questions, and thanks for reminding me. I'll try and do one. One.
It's one of my favorite actually, when it comes up. It's funny. Wow. So what do you got planning? What do you got in the shoot right now? What are you doing? You got the book coming. It's out now, but what else have you got? Have you got kind of a plan of doing something with COVID, or has that just stopped all work?
Well, creatively it hasn't stopped me at all. I've been writing and writing. I finished 2 scripts. I'm working on another gift humor book. I write songs. Actually, I have a few new Christmas songs I did earlier in the year that I made, recorded just for fun. So they're not like for sale, but there's a video to one of them I made last year called Midnight Will Be Clear. And one of the guys in the video is a great singer, and he recorded a Christmas album in Nashville this year, and he included that song. He recorded his own version, and that's going to be coming out. His name is Adrian Christian, and the song is Midnight Will Be Clear, and that's going to come out, I think, right on Thanksgiving Day. It'll probably be on Spotify and CD Baby and all those outlets, iTunes. And so he's a much better singer than I am. So even though I'm singing in my video, he does I haven't heard his version yet, but I just know his voice and the way he sings. So I'm looking forward to the release of that song. And then I'll probably just post for fun. I wrote a song called Santa Slayed It that night. Like he SLAYED on his SLEIGH. But like I remember a Christmas where I got everything I wanted as a kid, and it's not a true story, but I made it up. But anyway, so that's kind of a fun song. And then another song called White Sand Christmas. Instead of a white Christmas, I'm going to have a white sand Christmas, so on like a nice island. And so I'll probably just, put those on Facebook for people to listen to and stuff, just because they were kind of fun. But other than that, I'm just trying to shoot the next movie. But with COVID, that's harder. But we're going to shoot in Nashville, hopefully middle to end of next year. Jolie Fisher is set to direct it, and we have a couple names sort of attached and stuff. But writing, the creative stuff, I have too many ideas, and getting it out there is the hard part,
I was going to say, because it's just the whole industry's got to be changing over the last year from all of this COVID and Trump and all this stuff going on. It's got to be an unsure time of what's going to happen next year or the year after.
Yeah, and hopefully, it'll get better. But it's going to take, no matter what, it's going to take. Even with the vaccine, even with this or that, it's going to take quite a while to get back to halfway normal. But and even to shoot a movie now, you have to follow all these COVID restrictions and the testing and all that and stuff. And that brings your cost of the movie up even higher, like I think by 18% or more. So we'll see what happens if I do get to shoot that. But yeah, I got like 8 other scripts too I want to shoot in the next several years. So they're just sitting here on my desk collecting dust.
So what do you want in 20 years? What do you want to look back at and have accomplished, do you think?
At least 20 years, you said, at least 5 or 6 of those movies that I wrote that are sitting here, and a TV pilot too. Have more songs that I've written. Oh, by the way, I'm trying to get Dolly Parton in my movie, and that would be my ultimate meeting her, but having her in the movie as herself would be ideal. So that's. I'm friends with her sister Stella Parton, who's very sweet and very nice. What else? 20 years. Just mostly. A lot of songs I've written, recorded by other artists. Yeah, I'm not a good enough singer to really have a career as a singer. I joke I can carry a tune if it's not too heavy. But and I do sing a lot on my like kind of to myself when I'm catering just to make the time go faster. But what else in the next 20 years? And it's going to go like that. I know. I say 20 minutes at work goes very slowly and drags, but 20 years like that.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Yeah, those mainly I think just getting these things out. I don't. It would be nice to win a Spirit Award. I'm not I'm realistic. I don't expect an Oscar, but I do expect an Independent Spirit Award.
Well, there you go. That's something. So, how do people find you? What's your best place for people to come find out everything about you?
I have a website, www.sudirik.com. So it's SUDIRICK.com. I'm on Facebook, I think under Sudi Rick Karatas. I don't do a lot of Twitter. I don't do. I am on Instagram. I think under Sudi Rick. Most stuff is under Sudi Rick. Or if you put in Sudi Karatas, there aren't a lot of Sudi Karatashes around, so I should pop up. And my email, if people want to reach out on that, it's sudirik@AOL.com. Yes, I'm the last person to have AOL, I believe.
Yeah, I was going to say that's not going. Wow.
Yeah.
You've got mail.
Yeah, I have a Gmail, but I don't check it that often. So sudirik@AOL.com, the website sudirik.com.
Grindr?
And, no, I don't think you can find me on Grindr because it's what do you call it? On the down low. No, I'm kidding. And what is Grindr?
It's a place for caterers. It tells you how to eat food properly. Grind.
Where else can they find me? I mean, I'm in Van Nuys, California. That's where I live now. I've been out in California 18 years. But yeah, and the book they can find on Amazon. Both books actually, Rainbow Relatives, which is speaking to kids about LGBTQ families and friends. That's still on Amazon and I think Barnes and Nobles. And then the new book, How Catering Sucked the Life Right Out of Me, is on Amazon and I believe a few Barnes and Nobles, like in Calabasas. I know they just ordered some and a few other places. And
yeah, the bookstores are having a tough time, I think.
Yeah.
People aren't purchasing through the stores as much now, and they were already struggling. So,
yes.
If people can get out, it's good to go to a bookstore for sure.
Yeah.
But and we'll have you linked up. We'll have you linked up on our site as well, so people can find you.
And these are good. I guess Christmas is almost around the corner, so these are good, nice Christmas gifts too. The books, I think.
Yeah. No, it is. It's a really good idea. Well, it's always fun having you here.
It's fun being here.
And hopefully things get better next year, and we're glad you came on. That's it.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
To find out more about our show, guests, or to listen to past shows from our archive, please go to www.houseofmysteryradio.com.
Show's over for now.
Was it as good for you as it was for me?
Well, good night.
This has been a production of Something Weird Media.
I'll be back.